Hi, everybody. I'm Susan.
I'm Tab.
And we are MCU Explained. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be talking about episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, we have a lot to talk about.
We do.
There's so much.
It's called New World Order, which is very appropriate.
Very appropriate. It is a longer runtime than WandaVision as well. So, these I think are shorter. It's like 6 episodes, but they're like each 45 to 40 to 50 minutes or something.
Yeah, they will be less episodes, longer episodes.
Gotcha.
And it is storming here, so if you hear thunder.
I was also supposed to, in the intro, say it's storming in Texas right now, so we're going to hear some thunder. So really, it's more like Thor is guest starring on MCU Explained this week.
So nice of him to stop by.
It was really nice of him to stop by. I feel like he should have stopped by for like the Loki show. Like maybe he should have waited, but hey, you know.
Maybe he will.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
We're friends now, so. There's a very, very short opening, which is we see Sam putting on a suit and like putting the shield away. And I'm pretty sure that was to fake out and make you think that he was on the way to Cap's funeral.
Yep.
But he's not. We find out he's not. But it does cut away from that to our first ever solo Falcon mission, where we get to see him fight and do stuff without the other Avengers.
And what a ride that was.
So great. I love all the stuff his wings do now. They can be a shield. He still has Red Wing, obviously. In the back. Yeah. Obviously. And he has backup from the Air Force, including Joaquin Torres, who is the Falcon currently, or was the most recent holder of the title, the Falcon, in the comic books.
That's adorable.
And because comics are wild, Torres in the comics is actually like a bird person because he was experimented on. So he has bird eyes and bird wings on his arms.
Comics are bonkers and I love them so much.
It's weird because we talk so much about it completely out of context to where it's like we're just cutting to what happened. So I'm also going to tell you that the experiments also gave him some vampiric abilities of self-regeneration. So he's like a bird vampire.
That's amazing. Also, didn't know that because here's the thing. I realized that in this show, we basically flipped. Like this is like the section of Marvel Comics that I know like very, very little about. Not that you knew little about WandaVision because you knew a lot about that too. But like, I don't read a lot of Cap books, a lot of Winter Soldier books, a lot of Bucky books, a lot of Falcon books. Like this is like a subset that I just don't necessarily read. So I had no idea that guy was even like an Easter egg or anything.
Yeah, he's an Easter egg, but I'm kind of hoping he ends up being New Falcon eventually. Yeah, I hope. Well, he doesn't need to be a bird person, but they could make him some wings.
That would be amazing. So yeah, I love that. I love that. I was just like, oh, what a cool, because I really like that actor. So I was like, oh, what a cool thing to see him in. So.
And he's obviously going to be involved more.
Yeah,
with Sam.
He's like clearly he and Sam have like a rapport going on.
Yeah. So what they're dealing with is basically Captain was kidnapped. They need to recover him without going into Libya and without it seeming like the US is involved here. And we have the same bad guy
from Winter Soldier. That's interesting. I realized that too.
Batroc is his last name. His first name is Georges, but it's like French, so I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to say it. So I'm just going to call him Batroc because the people that follow him are Batroc's brigade. But yeah, he's a mercenary pretty much. He's often opposite Cap but sometimes helps. He's one of those guys. He's basically just does what he's hired to do.
Whatever is most convenient for him.
Yes. So I'm Unclear on what he's up to in the MCU. Although I think it's very plausible to say that back in Winter Soldier, when they told Cap that Fury hired those people to attack the boat, given that he's a mercenary, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Fury wanted that info.
Yeah.
And he has been associated with Zemo in the past. So,
well, we all know we're getting Zemo. So
yeah. I'm since he is a mercenary, basically what I'm getting at is someone hired him to do
yeah, someone hired him to do that for sure.
Yeah. And he escapes again. He has been very good at getting away from Avengers.
He's like one of the only ones who's gotten away like multiple times at this point. So good for him. Good for you.
They don't really deal with a lot of mercenaries, so probably part of that is him being like, oh, this isn't worth it anymore, I'll just bail.
Right. Yeah. Like once the event involved, if I were a mercenary, I wouldn't want to, I'd just be like, nope, you guys aren't paying me enough for this.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Like he should write in his contracts when he takes it on, like if the Avengers get involved, he gets a bonus.
I get a bonus or I leave.
Yeah. I get to bail or I get a bonus.
So we have there's also that great bit where Sam just drops on the plane and peeps in the window, which I loved. That's a plus comedy bit. And he's like,
I love that. And they were like, there's someone on the plane, and someone's like, you're crazy. There's no one on the plane.
Yeah, no one's on the plane. I also like we got to see Red Wing cut the door off the plane. Gets a little bit of his action in.
Mm-hmm.
So they fight on the plane a little bit, but the bad guys, mercenary dudes, have those like squirrel suits that they jump out of the plane.
Yeah, like the flying squirrel guy like things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean I guess this was their backup plan, but I don't know why they think it would work at this point, because they're gonna have way less mobility than Sam.
Right. Like Sam has like ways to actually fly, and you guys are basically riding the wind. So
yeah,
the only thing you can control is how fast you go from like this.
Yeah.
Like this. Mm-hmm.
As Sam also throws one of the sticky bombs that Peter Quill has, which I realized later, because I was like, oh, I wonder who made those since Tony's gone, but it might have been Tony because he was with Peter in Infinity War and then he came back to Earth and he might have been like, those were cool.
Yeah, there were 5 years there
where he could have.
I just think about like Tony tinkering for 5 years.
And
trying to stop.
Can't stop.
Yeah, that's like Pepper even says, like getting him to stop is one of the few failures of her life.
And one of my favorite threads, and I think we've talked about it before, is Tony, when he sees something that he's like, oh, that's a good idea, or that worked really well, he always makes it for the Avengers.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's totally possible that he made a bunch of Star-Lord's tech for the Avengers, but then better.
But yeah, because it's Tony's. So Sam does save this dude who is maybe just a plot piece, because I don't know if you recognized him or thought anything about his name or anything.
I just thought the whole point was to show that Sam can stand on his own, because we haven't really seen Sam stand on his own before.
I agree. It was a very nice, awesome showcase of Sam and what he can do.
Absolutely. 1000%.
So then after he's repairing Red Wing and he's hanging out with Taurus, who I believe is an Avengers fanboy. Some people thought he was acting kind of suspiciously. Like, I think this dude is just...
I think that he thought it was cool to be hanging out with Sam. Like,
yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, and especially when that guy came up to the table and was like, Avengers and stuff, and like Torres was like, yeah, I'm with an Avenger.
Yeah. We're all here together, helping out.
Like, hey, I'm here with an Avenger. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So he's telling Sam about this new terrorist organization, which are the Flag Smashers, we find out. But they're leaving AR symbols all over. Like you can find them with your phone looking for the AR tech the way that you would
Flag smashers.
like if you were playing the Harry Potter mobile game where you look for stuff with your phone and it appears.
Oh, I just thought of, I instantly thought of Pokemon Go, where I'm like,
Pokemon Go. Yeah. But now it's AR terrorism.
Yeah, it's very different than Pokemon Go, which I play with my niece all the time.
They have a very different mission, or are saying they have a very different mission than they do in the comics, because they're saying the world was better before, like during the blip. The world was better before all the people came back. They want a world unified without borders, which
I thought was interesting, because I'm like, so you guys just want one world?
Yeah, one world, less people.
Flag, no world? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that storyline developing.
Mm-hmm. And it sort of sounds like the thing where it's easy to get, because we see later that they sort of have like people just show up to help without really knowing what is going on. It seems like the sort of thing to get people swept up in the mission, maybe without actually knowing what's really going on.
Yeah, for sure. And also like that idea, or like the ideology that like presenting that could attract more people than whatever they might actually be up to.
Yeah, because they were stealing money.
Yeah. So not sure how that, I mean, I guess if you want one big government for the whole world, maybe you need some funds, but like I really do think that that's like the pitch to recruit people, but that's not necessarily what they're actually doing.
And then Taurus brings up that some people think that Captain America is in a secret base on the moon, and he asked Falcon if he flew him up to the moon, which is hilarious. Also is a nod to the comics, because I guess
I feel like that's something that actually happened in comics.
Yeah, but presumably ridiculous in this.
Yeah, that as someone who like doesn't really read Cap or anything, I even that stood out to me as like, I bet that happened in the comics. Like that just sounds like comics to me.
That's what Steve would do.
Go
up to the moon base.
There's like some truth to that, or there's sources for that.
Yeah. So then we cut back and we see that we're not going to a funeral. We're at a donation / appreciation of Captain America ceremony at the Smithsonian. Sam's gonna donate Cap's shield. Rhodey's there, which is
by the way, when Rhodey was there, I was like, hey, we got one of the cameos we predicted right away. Yay! We don't have to like spend like the whole show being like, I wonder if we're getting that cameo that we predicted. Got one of them right away.
Got Rhodey.
Did you see that hilarious meme though, where like Don Cheadle like furrowed his brow or something, and it made an M, and
it made an M,
and people were like, "Oh my God, Mephisto!" Because we all spent so much time with WandaVision being like Mephisto, so they're like, "Oh, we found Mephisto already," and I'm like, "Oh,
it's Rhodey the whole time."
It was Rhodey all along. But yeah, I was so angry at that scene, because the second he donated this, I'm like, the government is going to double cross you, Sam.
Oh, yes.
You sweet summer child thinking you're doing the right thing.
It's interesting to me that Sam trusts the government at all after being on the run from them, being with Steve when Steve was like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. Like being there for him when he was totally disillusioned and left the government. And I did a podcast with my friend, the Oh Snap podcast again, and someone said maybe part of Sam's like pardon or condition for violating the Accords is that he do some government work and contract with them.
Maybe,
but he still had to he didn't have to give up the shield. I still
I was watching that scene cringing.
Mm-hmm.
It just was so obvious.
And Rhodey knew.
And Rhodey knew. Rhodey knew too. I cringing. That was a cringe-worthy scene.
Yeah.
And very well acted by Don Cheadle, Anthony Mackie, and then very well directed, because like some of those shots were just like you could tell the undertones of like what was happening without anybody saying anything.
Yeah. And the speech that Sam gives is lovely.
Yeah.
And he obviously didn't write calling himself Captain America, taking up the mantle, because he says symbols are nothing without the men and women who give them meaning. And to him, Steve was Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like that's fair. And
it's just
bad. You were just gonna get screwed over like 2 days after you did this beautiful thing. Like you sweet, sweet, trusting man.
Sweet, sweet boy. And then he and Rhodey get their talk afterwards, and he asks him, "Why didn't you take up the mantle?" And he says, "You know, it didn't feel like it was mine." Basically. And I mean, it is so beautifully acted by Don Cheadle, but man, he thinks that Sam should be Captain America.
I mean, I actually loved that scene, the way it was split like that, because it was like, I feel like Don Cheadle, like Rhodey, was playing what we all felt at
yes.
I was like, how could I really want Sam to be Captain America. I would love to see Sam Wilson take up that mantle and do it in his own way. And I know that he does it in the comics. I know Bucky does it in the comics. So if like, it's just,
yeah.
I don't know. I also just feel like I also got a little mad at Sam, to be honest, because I'm like, if your best friend, who is the symbol that you're talking about, honors you by saying I am bequeathing you the symbol and the mantle, I was a little mad that he would not do it. And I get his point, you know, like the symbols are nothing without the men and women who give them meaning, but give it your own meaning. Like it does, symbols also change.
Yeah. I see both sides of it so clearly.
I mean, I do too, but I just really want Sam to be Captain America.
Yeah, because it goes back to when Steve was chosen and he was told you're not a great soldier, you're a good man. And Sam is a good man.
Right. Yeah.
There's a really interesting parallel here too, because in Far From Home, Peter didn't think he should be the new Iron Man. He didn't think that Tony should have passed that down to him and given him oh god, what's it called?
I don't remember. Like the glasses. They're glasses. Edith. Even dead.
Yeah, Edith. I'm still the hero.
Yes, still the hero.
Even dead, I'm the hero.
Yeah.
And it just this similar like fear of not living up to their expectations, or thinking that they saw something in you that's not there, and not being worthy, which we've seen Thor struggle with so much. Mm-hmm. It's an issue. And the thing is, if Peter knew, if Sam knew how much Thor struggled with like the only way he could tell for sure he was worthy of what he was doing and a hero was if the hammer came to him, that would probably really help them.
Yeah, that's totally true. And then I also think about, you can contrast that with like, because we have to think about the next generation of Avengers, like who's going to be showing up as like leaders in this new phase, right? So then I think about, obviously, Steven, who would never consider himself not worthy. He's like, you're dealing with the master of the mystic arts.
He
Like,
stayed on that doorstep. He was gonna learn that magic.
yeah. So it's just really interesting to have like, and again, that's why these characters mean so much and why you need to have like the ones that are the good, not that Steven's not a good man, but like the good men to be the symbols, and also the ones who just are persistent and never going to give up. Like, you know, Carol always standing back up every single time she gets knocked down. Like, you need her as much as you need, why was Edith passed to me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need both sides of it. And yeah, Steven's never what do you mean I'm the sorcerer supreme? That doesn't sound right.
Deserve that title.
He still makes everyone call him doctor.
Yeah. Oh, we're doing our fake names. But yeah, like, and then, you know, I think about Carol too, with that every time getting back up, she gets knocked down, she gets back up. I have nothing to prove to you. You also need that in your heroes as well. You can't just have like, oh, why me? I don't understand. You have to also have the like the persistent ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I have this and I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, I have this in me. I can do this. I'm going to do this.
Okay, so now we cut to a flashback to the Winter Soldier, a scene we did not see in Bucky's timeline, where he kills a bunch of people in service of Hydra, and they make him say "Hail Hydra," which made my skin crawl. I did not like that he had to say that.
I thought it was like I was talking about this with someone and we almost thought that it was like sarcastic at first, like was he killing Hydra people, and like maybe that was sarcastic, but then no.
They made him say that. He was given, it seems like, really specific instructions every time he went on a mission that he could not break.
Yeah.
So in this one, you say "Hail Hydra" when you kill this man, and no witnesses.
Yeah.
So he had to kill the innocent bystander. I did appreciate that we got one solo fight scene from both Sam and Bucky, even though it was a bad guy Bucky fight. You see, you're reminded of how capable they are.
And you also are reminded of their different styles, which should come into play later when they have to team up, you know, like they both fight so differently. Like
they really do.
Gliding and almost graceful, and it almost looks like a dance. And then Bucky is like punch, 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 like, you know, like break through walls, throw that person, like, you know, like Bucky's just a lot more like rough and rowdy, and Sam is like graceful and like dignified. That's the word that comes to mind.
Yeah. Bucky gets down and dirty.
Yeah.
So we find he was sleeping. He had a nightmare. Bucky's sleeping on the floor in front of the TV. Yeah, PTSD. A callback to Winter Soldier again, when Sam and Steve talk about not having to sleep on the floor because it didn't feel safe to sleep in a bed.
Yeah.
Bucky's in therapy though, and I love it.
Bucky's the worst therapy like patient ever. Yes. I would be so frustrated with that.
I gave him more leeway than I think I would some of the other characters, because she mentions this is part of his pardon. So this is a government mandated therapist. Why would he trust her? She obviously has to report back to the government if he starts getting out of line or breaking the deal.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want to tell her that he had a nightmare, even though she knows he's lying.
Yeah. I mean, fair. I just was like, God, he's so freaking stubborn.
He is. He's also a very stubborn man.
So stubborn.
So he's been doing amends, which are not really what
It's not really what the amends process is, but you know, he's
His
still
own.
doing it.
He wants to take away power from the people he gave power to that are abusing it.
Mm-hmm.
They have rules,
Yeah,
but he appeared to break most of them. He broke 2 of them.
broke 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
There are 3 rules, and he broke 2/3 of them.
But he did tip off. He had someone tip off the police about this woman that he put into power. But then he hijacks her car.
Mm-hmm.
He's not supposed to hurt anyone, and he punches the passenger when the guy pulls out a gun. But then the most important part is the little speech that he gives where he says, I'm no longer the Winter Soldier. I am James Bucky Barnes, and you're part of my efforts to make amends. And then he has that horrible smile.
Yeah, that horrible smile where I'm like, dude, Sebastian Stan is probably one of the better looking humans out there. And somehow he looks ridiculous, like some sort of like clown. And I just went,
like if you were an alien and you were trying to mimic a smile.
yes, yes.
And then he's gone by the time the cops show up to arrest her. So that's Bucky's amends.
Mm-hmm.
The therapist gives him a hard time about not trusting anyone. Fair. Yeah. She doesn't even say it has to be her.
Yeah.
Trust someone.
And I was like, his phone.
Yeah, he's been ignoring texts from Sam, which I'm sure are adorable. Mm-hmm. He says the only time he ever really stopped was in Wakanda, which yeah he got a break. And then he went from one fight to another for 90 years. But his therapist is also a soldier, or was a soldier. And so she knows he's full of it and that he doesn't need to be alone. He shouldn't be alone. It's bad to be alone. And then they have that great exchange where she says, you're free. And he says, to do what?
Yeah.
He doesn't even know what to do. Right. Steve was the last person he trusted.
Yeah.
I bet he trusts Shuri, but the odds of him being able to hang out with her a lot are very small.
They're pretty slim.
Yeah. And then we see, well, he does have a friend. It's this old man, Yori. They go to lunch together, and Yori asks the server out for Bucky, and he does not like that.
No, I also really enjoyed that he did not like the lucky cat.
Yeah, he stuffed it. Here is where, for me, Bucky is giving off some major, like, if everything in his life had been normal, if he had been a normal person, he would be like Nick Miller from New Girl.
Oh yeah, I totally was like, he totally was giving off Nick Miller vibes, which definitely like oh.
Nick Miller also had an old
Asian man friend. Also, Nick Miller would totally be annoyed by a lucky cat.
Yep. Yeah, he would have knocked it over, I think.
Yeah, Nick Miller would have like knocked it over and been like, yeah.
So great cast. Here's a casting idea: is that Bucky's sister had kids at some point, and Jake Johnson is like his great grandnephew.
Amazing. I would adore that because that would be just so funny.
But the server says she will go out with him. She's interested.
I mean, why wouldn't you be?
Right. He's very attractive. And you can't tell that he's cut his hair, he's shaved, he's hiding his arm. It's very hard to tell that he might be a superhero / former villain.
Assassin.
Yeah. Then while they're eating, Yori gets upset because he sees the Moki and he remembers his son, who, whoops, we find out that Bucky is spending time with this man because that was the bystander he killed.
Yeah.
This amends much nicer than the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
He's just being his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But eventually he's gonna have to come clean about that and lose a friend.
Oh man.
Is this the part where you cried?
I so I was texting Susan and I were talking after the episode. I was like, oh, Susan cried a lot during WandaVision, but this is going to be what makes me cry. And it's honestly, it's Bucky struggling with like PTSD. And when she's like, you're free, and he's like, to do what? I really identified with that. And I was like, yeah, to do what?
You're like, great, thanks.
Yeah, you've been in a position where your life was like controlled for so long, and what you did wasn't up to you. So when you're finally able to do whatever you want, you don't know what to do.
Yeah, I relate to that too.
Yeah, but no. So Bucky made me cry a lot. He really just needs. I mean, I know they're gonna team up and stuff. It's just like he really needs that friendship.
Yeah, he needs a hug.
You know.
Yeah, he needs a big old hug.
So we cut away to Sam, who's hanging out with his sister, who is incredible.
Yeah, Sam has the best sister. What a kick-ass lady. I was like, oh, good. I'm so glad Sam has like this sister who just like, no, like she doesn't give a shit that he's an Avenger. She's just like, you're my like brother. I've taken care of this for so long. I made this all happen for our family while you were being an Avenger. Like you don't get to tell me what to do.
Yeah. They have an argument over selling the family's fishing boat, which is what Sarah wants to do, because she's the one, like you just said, who's been doing everything, been running the business and doing the boat. And Sam is upset because their family home is tied into the boat. It's just they have a really terrible money situation, essentially. And Sam offers to help her get a loan. Unclear to me. It seemed like he offered in like brother sister code ways, that he offered like to help in a lot of different ways. And she didn't want it, and she sort of was like, okay, we'll try, like I guess we'll try for the loan. So I don't know, a lot of questions on the money thing, which we can obviously is going to bring that up, but I don't think Sam has no money.
Yeah, that was also unclear. Like I kind of got the point of like you, though, man, it did bring up a whole other real life consequence to the blip. Like when they were in the loan office and he's like, you have no income for 5 years. Well, I wasn't here for, like, I didn't exist for 5 years. Like that type of situation was like, okay. Yeah, like what are they supposed to do about that?
Well, we'll get more into that when we get to that part, because I will.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Then we cut back to Bucky on date night, and he brought her flowers, and he's wearing gloves for his poor circulation.
By the way, when she was like, this is the most old-fashioned thing ever, I was like, okay, I would love flowers. Like, calm down. Like, this isn't old-fashioned. This is just like a nice thing that he did for you. So like maybe be a little more grateful. Like, I did not like that line at all, because I would have been like, if Bucky or if anybody was like, oh, here's some flowers, I wouldn't be like, oh, well, this is old fashioned. I'd be like, thank you.
Yeah, it's very sweet. But also, yes, he has not dated since the before time for him.
Yeah, when he was actually the one getting all the ladies, not Steve.
Yeah. And when she says, how old are you? And he says 106. And then he looks surprised when she laughs.
Yeah.
They're finding some really funny stuff for Bucky, which is nice.
I mean, they have to, because he can't just be the heavy one out of the two of them.
He can't just be the bummer.
To be some light moments, or else it's like, if you think about it, both guys like have pretty tragic storylines right now. And so clearly coming together is going to be something that they both really do need, you know?
Yeah. And I think too, when we saw Bucky for the first time in Captain America, he had a sense of humor. Like it's not new. He's just had a really tough time.
And also there are little ways that they brought it into other stuff, like once he started to get better, you know, like don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. How can I? You taking all the stupid with you? Like
Not bad for the end of the world.
bad for the end of the world. Like he's had some nice like humor lines in there. And even just like the like how much for the arm, like oh I'm gonna get that arm. Like there's like little
Yeah.
moments that you can appreciate Bucky's humor.
Yeah, he's just a mess. But he has all the parts of being a person.
And hey, we've all been there.
But he is not great at being social. He obviously, because he doesn't talk to anyone ever. Like the only person he's talking to is his therapist, and I guess Yori. I don't know how much they're actually talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not great on this date. And her asking normal date questions about family and all that is just reminding him of everything he's lost and everything bad that he's done. And then she brings up Yori and he just leaves.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
And he goes, I assume he was going to tell him. And then when he got there, he couldn't.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we cut to Taurus, who is in Switzerland for a flag smashing event. He's undercover. He grabs a mask. Interesting to me that Aaron Kellyman's character, who has been rumored to be Carly Morgenthau, which is a gender swap on Carl Morgenthau. Mm-hmm. Interesting to me that she was passing out the masks and not really involved. Like
or is that a show of like, or is that like a bait and switch?
Yes, you know I think it is. If you don't, it's funny because she's an incredible actress. We know from the promos that she's heavily involved in the show. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a funny bait and switch to me because it's like, guys, you already showed us she's in this.
Yeah. No, like, I totally agree. But I took it as a bait and switch of like, you know, we don't want people to know who the real leader is.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe more than us as the audience, the people around, like witnesses.
Yeah, for sure.
Why would it be the girl handing out masks?
Right. And then like, if they're going to arrest someone, then it's not her being arrested.
Oh, yeah.
There's still the brains of the operation is still like very much free, even if some of the muscle gets arrested.
Yeah. So this seems to be some sort of coordinated chaos robbery, bank robbery. Taurus does chase after the person he thinks is the leader, who appears to be super strong.
Mm-hmm.
Super duper strong.
To have some sort of super strength.
Super strength. Which I believe later is what we'll see Sam refer to as one of the big three, because they're so strong. Yep. They might just have the serum. He doesn't even, that's not in his list, but so Taurus gets knocked out. He doesn't get killed, thankfully.
Yeah, I thought for sure that hit killed him. And I was like, oh. But he just got knocked out.
Yeah, which is great because I'm hoping he sticks around for a while. Now we're at the bank loan scene.
Hey, cool.
Okay, cool. So basically, this superhero who the loan officer recognizes cannot get a loan. And they say it's the blip, but they're using the blip as an excuse to not give money to Black people.
Yeah, I was like, it was absolutely a race thing.
It was absolutely a race thing. Sarah reacts to it, and just that awkward interaction of like him being like, oh no, but yeah, and can I still have a picture with you? Like it's we know the show is going to be dealing with race because this isn't the only racist thing that happens.
Oh no, there's other racist things that happen in this, even in this episode. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But this is like, this is one of those things where like, because like you said, you knew that Sam he shouldn't turn the shield over. Like, don't give the shield to the government. Like, but like, it's a different sort of gut punch to be like, this dude that has saved like the world.
Not even just the world, the universe.
Yeah, you can't give him a loan. He's showing you he has
his family home.
Yeah.
Like big middle finger. Big middle.
And he has money coming in. It's not like, yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
Gut punch, extremely frustrating.
Gut punch. And it's just like, it had everything to do with race.
Yeah. And he even asks, oh, didn't Stark pay you? Which is, I mean, no, they all were working for the government up until they were on the run. And Stark provided them with like housing, cars, costumes, like food. As long as they were at the Avengers HQ.
But he wasn't also there. He was with Cap.
That's right. He left. He violated the Accords and he got to go and figure it out. So whatever they had to do. And Sarah also kind of mentions in passing that she's a widow.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming we'll get more of that maybe. We don't really know what happened to their parents. We don't know what happened to her husband, just that she's been on her own. Now here's very interesting. Excited to hear your thoughts on this. When they leave, Sam says he still doesn't want to sell their family's legacy. And you can tell that the legacy is very important to him, but he gave up Cap's legacy.
Yeah. That was super interesting to me. I wondered if that also had to do with the difference between a legacy earned and a legacy given to you. You know?
Or the perception of that, because a family legacy is still given to you.
Yeah. But the perception of that is that the family legacy, you earn it by somehow being a part of said family. However,
I mean,
the actuality of this, and maybe this is what Sam has to learn throughout this show, is that the actuality is that it's flipped. The earned legacy here is actually Cap's. He earned that shield. He earned it through loyalty to Captain America when no one else was. Like,
he was the only person other than Nat that Cap could trust.
Yeah. Like, people who shoot at you tend to shoot at me too. Like, that is right there. There have been several times throughout the MCU where Sam was the only person that Cap had. I mean, because even Nat at the beginning of Civil War initially sided with Tony. So that is the earned legacy.
That is the earned legacy.
It's not the one that's the shield that isn't yours. It's the boat that's not really yours. And maybe that's what he has to learn throughout this, is that he has to let his sister take the legacy that she earned and go on her own path, and he needs to go on his. Like, they're still family and that's still important, but it's a different thing. And it is really interesting to show Sam putting so much weight on one side and not the other.
It's wild to me too, because you know that Cap thought of him as family.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's his relationship. Sam's relationship with Bucky was like a family, because they don't really like each other, but they helped each other because they were like a family. Yeah.
And they bicker like brothers, like, just like, you couldn't have done that before. I hate you. Like, that's brothers talk. Like, siblings talk to each other like that. Like, that's how siblings talk to each other. Like, you drive me bonkers. But, you know, when it comes down to it, I'm right here.
Yeah. He's still texting Buck, probably being like, are you okay?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah,
what are you doing? How are you? I'm in DC. What are you up to?
Yeah. his family is more the Avengers now, and it's Cap and it's Bucky.
And it's also, it's interesting to have Sam also in a way carry on a lot of Nat's legacy when you think about it, because you know that scene, like, I didn't have anything and then I had this family, like that's Sam too. He was like by himself and he didn't have anything. He was like, you know, just taking care of vets at the VA. And while that's like noble and on like very honorable and very necessary work and a way of giving back, like he was just doing his thing, and then he got this family.
Mm-hmm.
So
He's an
Sam
Avenger.
carrying the weight of several legacies. So maybe it's almost like a way to deflect all that and just focus on like, well, this is blood legacy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I'm sure we'll find out more about what's going on with Sam, but a very interesting, like, to be, especially right out in this first episode, to hear him talking about the importance of legacy so much when he gave up Caps.
Yeah.
So Torres contacts Sam to brief him on the Flag Smashers. He sends a picture of his busted up face. They talk briefly, and it's clear that Sam is worried that there is a wizard or alien or whatever.
Something else in the big.
Something else, because they're too strong.
Yeah, they're too strong.
So he asks for Torres to keep it quiet while he looks into it, which he's going to. As far as I can tell, Torres seems like a good dude. And then they get cut off because Sarah runs in to turn on the TV because that same government dude that told Sam he was doing the right thing is announcing a new Captain America on TV, because what a piece of shit.
Yeah, because fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
Oh my God. Like, man, I do though enjoy the like fuck that guy characters that have been happening in these shows. Like I was like, I bet you and Hayward go to lunch together and like and talk about what dick moves you're gonna make today. Like
And it's poor. Well, I don't think poor, because I think I'm pretty sure Wyatt Russell knew exactly what character he was playing and what he was getting into. So Wyatt Russell comes out in the new Cap uniform, and in case you thought you were supposed to look at him and feel like that was Captain America or anything but hate him, they intentionally made it bad.
They gave it you every reason to hate him.
Yeah,
to hate him.
You can compare. I'll probably put some pictures in here with
like the Grunkle Stan one. That's one of my favorite ones. The Grunkle Stan and the Carl from Up, like those are so good.
But they when you look at Chris Evans in the helmet, they've cut it to fit his face and to enhance the things about his face that are nice. And they basically did the opposite to this one that Wyatt Russell's wearing, to where the chin strap is too thick. It makes his jaw look weird. The eyes aren't cut like in a flattering way. It even goes too far out, like it's not tied up against his head, so that he's got like a weird.
Yeah, it gives him a cartoon face. Like,
yes.
That's why so many cartoon characters have been memed up to look like that's what's happening.
Yeah, you're supposed to look at this guy and go, oh, that's not Cap. I don't like this guy.
That's exactly what was supposed to happen, and boy, did it work.
It did. Also, he has a gun.
He has a gun? I didn't even notice that.
He has a hip holster with a gun in it.
Oh my God. Tab, what on earth? But yeah, hey, you know, good on the people who made this show, because like I instantly hated that guy. Instantly.
Yeah.
I was like, and then when they cut to Sam's face afterwards, you hate him more.
Yeah. Sam learned a terrible lesson about trusting the government.
Which, in all honesty, Sam's learned that lesson before. He just had to learn it again, apparently.
Maybe he has to learn it like through himself and not through like the lens of Steve being like, this is wrong. The government's terrible.
Aren't both of them gonna have to do that throughout the course of the show? Like, because both Bucky and Sam are definitely gonna have to grow past Steve. Like, that's the
They
whole
are.
point of this show, I think, is like to take on their own mantles. And that's why Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like that's about them. It's not about Steve anymore. And
Mhm.
they're gonna have to learn that.
Yeah. Right now, I think that Steve hangs over Sam more
Oh, for sure.
because of passing him trying to pass on the mantle.
Oh, for sure. That's
For
way heavier.
Yeah, for Bucky, I think it's more of a that was his last friend.
Yeah, I miss
That
my
was the last person.
yeah,
Yeah.
I miss my friend. That's
They were like brothers.
yeah. So
Yeah,
they
what do I do now?
yeah. What do I do now? And then Sam is all about legacy.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the end of the episode is watching Sam get his heart broken by the terrible
And
government.
can I just do a little bit of a shout out to Anthony Mackie because like, dude, that heartbreaking look on your face
Mm,
broke my heart too. Like, talk about acting. Like, he didn't say a word. It was just, but his heart was breaking, and my heart broke, your heart broke, everyone's heart broke for him because that's how good he was in that moment.
yeah.
Felt everything he felt and the weight of everything and the betrayal.
I think it's very real for him in a lot of ways because of the world we live in as an actor. If he is going to be the next Captain America, it is an equally heavy weight.
Yeah.
It is a burden.
Yeah. And there will be hate
Yeah.
there about it, even and unwarranted.
Completely unwarranted.
Because P.S. If you want to talk about earned legacy, he earned it. Like he earned that shield. He's he's been the next Cap for a while. Like ever since he took Nat and Steven in Winter Soldier, Falcon was gonna be the next Cap.
Yeah.
I'll say that right now, even though I
Absolutely.
know that Bucky takes it before Falcon in the comics, I'm pretty
In
sure.
the comics.
In the
Yeah.
comics. So people expected it to be Bucky. But if you look at what the MCU set up, it was always going to be Falcon.
Yeah. It was there's a reason that when at the in game when Sam takes the shield, he hands him the shield and he looks at Bucky like, is this okay? There's a reason Bucky is like, yeah, Bucky's not ready. If he is ever going to take up the Cap mantle at some point, he's not ready. He has a lot to work through.
And the thing is like if you look at their journeys in the MCU, we all should have seen this all along because where Bucky is in the MCU is not the Bucky that takes up the Captain America mantle. Sam is. Sam is the legacy. Sam is the loyal friend who was there when no one else was, when Bucky was still frozen, when Bucky was Falcon trusted Bucky because of Cap. Like,
Yeah, you want to bring in this crazy person, you say not to kill him? Okay.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's like and then in Winter Soldier, it's like, he shows him the Falcon wings and everything. What are they doing? They're going after Bucky. Like Falcon was the choice from way back then.
Yeah. In Winter Soldier, remember Bucky punches through the windshield of Sam's car and rips out the steering wheel and once they find out it's Bucky and Steve's like, "Wait, this is my friend. We have to help him." Sam's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam was that from that moment on, Sam was the choice. I don't understand people like even after Endgame, like the only reason I was like, oh, was because like, I'm a comic reader from way back, even though I don't read Cap comics. I knew that Bucky was the one who took. So part of me expected it to be Bucky just because like, but the MCU
Sure.
once again gives us the twist that we deserve even if it's not the one we think we want. Because looking back, now that I've watched these movies like a billion times, Sam was always the choice. It was all like, I keep saying this because it was always gonna, and I encourage all of the viewers to like go watch Winter Soldier again, go watch Civil War again. Sam's the choice. Sam's always been the choice.
If
It was never going to be Bucky. Bucky's not in a place to do it.
Bucky is not in the right place to do it. Steve knows that. Bucky knows that. Bucky would not have accepted the shield.
Oh,
he
no.
would have been like, "Hey, no, I'm not okay yet for this."
But I do appreciate the like, you know, Falcon respects Bucky enough to look at him. But at the same time, he's the one.
Yeah.
He's it.
I think that Sam likes Bucky and that he sort of enjoys their contentious relationship.
What's funny is I kind of think they both do in a way. Like,
I think that Bucky doesn't know he does yet.
yeah. But I think that Sam enjoys being the like little brother, like the thorn in the side of the big brother.
Poke, poke, poke.
Yeah, like, no, I won't move my seat up. I'm sitting in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, what a great first episode.
And what's funny is that for me, and I've said this to a few people I've talked to about this, for me, this first episode, it was good, but it didn't blow me away. Like the way I was super right into WandaVision, like immediately I was like, I'm on board with this. I'm on board with this, but I know for me, this as a whole, I'm going to appreciate way more than episode to episode. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
this is more like a mini series.
Yeah, like once we get done with this and I can rewatch the whole thing as a whole, that and then again, WandaVision is more like a sitcom, so you can take any of the episodes and watch them again out of order, whatever, because you know and not that there isn't like a really good overarching story, because there is, but it's just the different structures. This one's going to be for me, way more appreciated as a whole. And yeah, that's just how I feel about it.
This first episode very much felt like the start of a Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's all the setup, here's what you need to remember, here's what's going on with these people before we get into this next thing that they're about to deal with.
Right. And there's a reason that this opened with the regular Marvel cinematic opening versus WandaVision. The very first episode of WandaVision didn't open with that.
No. I was for a minute, I was like, did they get a theme song? But not yet, I guess, or not at all. But I kind of wanted them to have one.
Have a theme song.
I mean, it's a mini-series TV show. It doesn't have to. It could be like the Game of Thrones song. I wanted them to have their own little theme.
Aww. Well, I hope they get a theme song for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised that there wasn't after credits for this though, like, or mid credits, because this just seemed like a show that there would be.
It's seeming like that's going to be something that happens
that they
eventually
hold off. Like,
later.
Yeah.
So we do have some questions, not as many, because again, I think this is going to be a straightforward show.
I do think so too. I think that we're not going to get as many questions.
From Ad Loves Theater.
Oh my gosh! Hi! I know who that is.
Is Captain America dead?
You know, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think he is, but like,
he gets to exist in the world as a normal old man because no one will recognize him.
Yeah, I don't think he is. But I hope we find out that answer. You know?
I hope we do too.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be now, but there are a lot of things in the comics with Old Man Cap where he's not Captain America anymore. He's either just living his life or he's like helping the Avengers from headquarters. And I really love all their interactions with him. So I would love to see that.
I would love to see like a Chris Evans Old Man Cap cameo. We mentioned that in the like preview episode that we both want to see that.
So I don't think he's dead, but I do think that they're letting everyone think he's dead.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we have a couple questions from Mediocre Jedi. The first is is the regular US government the big bad who named the new cap, or is there a bad behind the government?
I
Maybe.
feel like both answers could be true. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
think I think that it's the regular US government right now.
I think so too. Although the thing about Hydra's never really gone.
Right.
Cut off one head.
That's exactly what I was going to point out. I was like,
Yeah.
but we don't know if there's any like plants currently in the regular US government right now in the MCU. But for now, I would say that to keep it simple, they're probably just going to go because it does seem like there's several different, you know, bad guys in the show.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to keep it simple. And the new cap is just the regular American government.
Yeah. Although I would not be surprised, since he's John Walker, if he himself is
And somehow
Hydra or
the government into being able to get that mantle.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then his other question is, what tech or drugs do you think the Flag Smashers are using? Possibly mutant growth hormone.
You or a version of the super soldier serum because there's been several different versions and they never seem to be able to get it perfect the way they did with Steve Rogers.
Yeah. The idea that they might be using tech is interesting because they would be able to hide it.
Yeah.
If there's so many, like there's what Iron Man had, like if part of your arm is an Iron Man arm and it's just hidden, yeah. Or even the Black Panther suit. There's a lot of suits and stuff that
or
can be
Bucky's arm.
Or Bucky's. Man, if they have Bucky's old arm and they're punching people with it, I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah, that would also be messed up too if they somehow had Bucky's old arm.
How would they? Wouldn't that be in Wakanda?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be in
Mm,
Wakanda?
yeah.
Yeah, but they did go into Wakanda to get Vision's body, so I guess.
Yeah, and is the U.S. government behind the Flag Smashers also?
Oh, yeah. We don't really know.
If we know Sword went to get Vision's body, if they got Bucky's old arm,
well,
so much that they could be doing that's not good. Again, I feel like they all go to lunch and talk about how could they just, be the worst human beings alive together.
Yeah. And then we have a question from my husband, Nick Scott writes.
I'm like worried. I'm like, is it a real question, Nick?
It is as real a question as we'll ever get from him, probably. But it is, do you think in the MCU the pandemic still happened during the blip? Which he and I actually talked about it, about how, well, half the population was gone.
Yeah.
So there's social distancing of some kind.
I mean, it would have been a lot easier to stay at home with social distancing with half of everybody gone.
But people would still gather. And I said, well, I think it's less likely they would travel because there were people like in planes and stuff and the pilots disappeared. We saw that happen in the scene where Nick Fury pages Carol and disappears. Yeah. So I would assume planes and stuff would be grounded for a while.
Yeah. I think it happened. Sure. Why not?
Man, that's rough. What a rough time for everyone.
It shows how much trauma everybody lived through during those 5 years.
Actually, we will do this one. Noah Gavin asks, where are Rhodey's robo-legs? Which is something that I talked about with Susan because
apparently I'm the one who's wrong here because I like made fun of you to someone else. Was like, Tab wants to know where his oh yeah, he probably should have had those, right? And I'm like, he doesn't have robot legs. He's like, but I guess he kind of does. They're like,
kind of does. Tony made him braces, but great news. Some lovely people shot things on the internet, caught that you can see them glowing under his pants in one of the shots.
Gotcha. So they're
just thinner now.
Because in Infinity War, he is very distinctly wearing braces when he's talking to William Hurt's thing, and he's like, I paid for that. And he's wearing these braces. So He does, yes. I never thought of them as robot legs because to me, robot legs is like Darth Maul. And I was like, he wasn't cut in half, Tab, but apparently I'm the one who like was wrong here. And that's fine. I can be wrong. But I just always thought of them as like stark high-tech braces, not like robot legs.
I mean, that's fair. That's actually much more accurate, I'm pretty sure. And I think they've just been upgraded, so now that they fit under his pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can see them glowing. I have a picture. I'll share. I'll put in
We'll put the picture up so that way I can see the picture too. Well, that is all we have for our deep dive into the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm Susan.
I'm Tab.
And we are MCU Explained. Please subscribe to our channel. All of our social media information is in the description below, so you can like us on basically everything. We have like Facebook, Instagram. We have a Twitter that I barely ever update, but I should start. That's the thing. Yeah, and be sure to tune into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, dropping Thursdays at midnight, so Friday, exclusively on Disney+. And we will see you in the next episode.